Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission here, as always, is to cut through the noise, to take source material, sometimes, very unconventional material like today's, and really pull out the essential insights.
Mm.
And today we are doing a deep dive that, well, it looks at infrastructure, but not the kind you might be thinking of, not finance, not policy.
No, this is something else entirely. It's
Yeah.
a piece of clandestine urban logistics, a system that seems to operate on a single principle,
Yeah.
psychological necessity.
It's a remarkable study. We're going to be analyzing the operational mechanics and the protocols of something called the Night River Ferry.
And we need to be clear from the outset, this is not just a boat. It's framed in our source material as a profound piece of systemic maintenance. It offers a one-way trip to rest.
A one-way trip to rest. I like that.
So we have to analyze its function from really a few different angles, logistical, psychological, even from a systems engineering standpoint, to get our heads around how this necessary operation supposedly maintains the fragile sanity of the modern exhausted person.
Okay, so let's set the scene for you, the listener. Our source material puts you, as a character named Alex, right at the point of entry for this service.
A point of transition.
Exactly. You're standing by a pier, it's late at night, specifically 12:07 a.m. The last commuter train is gone, and you're feeling that palpable drag of the city's exhaustion just hanging in the air.
And that timing is absolutely critical. It's meticulously calibrated. 12:07 a.m. is not an arbitrary time.
It feels very specific.
It's that moment when, for many people, the capacity for resistance it fails. It's too late to be productive in any meaningful way, but it's still too early, cognitively, for easy sleep. Your mind is still racing.
Right, you're in that horrible limbo.
You are. And at this point, the individual is highly susceptible to anxiety. You're replaying the day's mistakes, you're rehearsing tomorrow's meetings. The exhaustion has created a vulnerability. And that vulnerability is the entry point for the Night River Ferry system.
And what materializes to meet that vulnerability is, well, the source calls it an unmistakable invitation. It's a vessel that is long and low, painted a deep, velvety blue.
Mm-hmm.
The aesthetic itself is an immediate intervention, isn't it? It's shifting you away from the harsh, functional, high-vis world of a working city into something else entirely.
It's a strategic visual cue.
Mm-hmm.
That deep velvety blue, it's chosen for its non-stimulating quality.
Right.
Think about public transport, all those jarring functional colors. This is the opposite. It's designed to soothe an overstimulated optic nerve.
And the lights.
The lights are key. The source mentions paper lanterns in soft gold and pale silver, and they're reflecting on the black water. These are lights of low intensity but very high intent. They immediately signal a shift in the energy of the environment. It's like you've crossed a boundary between the frantic waking world and this slow, restorative current.
And it's not just what you see. The whole atmosphere begins to change right there on the pier. The city's clatter, it says, went soft, draped in a thick blanket.
A thick blanket. I love that phrasing.
And the air felt cool, with the faint scent of rain and stone and something green.
And that change in perception is really the first phase of the whole restorative protocol. That muffled sound is a necessary decoupling. You're being unhooked from the auditory chaos of the city.
Which is a constant stressor, even if you don't realize it.
An enormous stressor.
Yeah.
By dampening that sound, the ferry's environment immediately lowers your baseline anxiety. And the scent rain, stone, something green, it's grounding, it's natural. It displaces the smell of stale concrete and machine oil. So this tells us the ferry operates not just on the water, but inside its own modified, optimized sensory bubble.
But here's the really critical piece. The part that guarantees access, the hand-painted sign is clear enough. Night River Ferry, one way to rest.
Simple, direct.
But beneath it, chalked and underlined twice, is your name, Alex. And the source says the letters shone faintly, as if lit from within. This is bordering on predictive scheduling.
It certainly is. And that personalization is absolutely key to understanding the system's logistical sophistication. It bypasses the need for the user, for Alex, to even initiate the service.
A step which, when you're that exhausted, would be too much to ask.
Exactly. Imagine if Alex had to look up a timetable or fill out a form on an app. The process would fail right there. So the ferry system eliminates what we could call the anxiety of negotiation, the name shining faintly. It suggests the system is monitoring the level of internal psychic pressure.
So when that pressure hits a critical threshold,
Your name floats to the surface, as the text later says. It confirms your access. It's recognition based on a verified need, not a booking you have to make.
That does raise a critical point about systemic efficiency, though. If the schedule is dictated purely by necessity, doesn't that make the service, vulnerable to abuse? Or just impossible to scale? How does the system filter for true need?
That's a fundamental challenge for any kind of restorative infrastructure, isn't it? But the filter is actually built into the experience itself. The environment, the cold, the late hour, the muted sounds. It only appeals to someone who is genuinely past their limit.
So someone just looking for a novelty ride would be put off.
Instantly repelled by the profound, quiet certainty of it all. It's not an amusement park. And the personalization, as Mara the ferryman later confirms, happens because names float to the surface when they're tired enough. The system is tracking exhaustion metrics that are beyond conscious control. Your psychological state is the ticket.
And the final piece of this welcome is the ferryman herself, Mara. She calls out, "You're right on time. We've been waiting for you."
Hmm.
And the source makes a point of noting the absence of any hurry or coaxing. There's only this quiet certainty.
And that quiet certainty, that codifies the system's reliability. It implies a perfect understanding of your timing. The ferry operates outside the anxious tyranny of the clock. If you arrive, it's because all the conditions, internal and external, have aligned perfectly.
So it's always on time because the time is determined by your arrival.
Precisely. And that immediate validation, you're right on time, it serves to instantly relax the nervous system, which is usually primed to feel late, to feel like it's rushing. It's the first essential step in psychological de-escalation.
So just by standing on the pier, the first phase of cognitive reduction is already complete.
The work has already begun.
With the scene set and that intention clear, Alex commits. He moves from the fluorescent glare of the station down the steps to the pier. And this physical transition is more than just boarding. It feels like a symbolic, almost ritualistic separation.
It is. The source notes the stone was cool, the fluorescent glare dimmed, replaced by the soft lantern glow.
Right.
The physical act of descent and transition is a deliberate psychological technique. The cool stone anchors you, your body, to a slower, more elemental reality. It's a sharp contrast with the manic energy of the city's concrete and steel.
And the lighting is so important. We know fluorescent lighting is a known stressor. It can suppress melatonin.
And it's replaced here by lantern glow, which mimics natural firelight, primal signals of safety and warmth. The source is very explicit that this transition involves moving away from the worry about tomorrow's meetings. So the environment itself is facilitating the shedding of your immediate mental baggage.
The vessel itself is described as having impossible physics. It's a fascinating paradox. Its hull was weathered wood, which feels very real. But the railings seem to shimmer, as though someone had woven moonlight into them.
And logistically, that dual nature is crucial for building trust in an environment that is designed for surrender. The weathered wood speaks to reliability, to history. This boat has been here before, it's endured the river, it's solid.
But the shimmer.
The shimmering railings provide that essential cognitive shift. They indicate that in this specific space, the heavy, demanding rules of the waking world, gravity, friction, effort, are momentarily suspended.
And the lanterns hum softly, not with electricity, but with contentment.
Exactly. The power source is emotional stability, not mechanical energy, which is far more sustaining to the purpose of rest. It reinforces the idea that you are entering a different kind of reality.
And Mara, the ferryman, the logistical manager here, she's defined by her appearance. An older woman, silver-streaked hair, kind eyes, a warm coat. She's designed to be the complete opposite of some, daunting mythical figure.
Her appearance is a key part of the system's safety mechanism. She has to be approachable, experienced, non-judgmental. Fear is the greatest enemy of rest, and Mara's whole demeanor, her kind eyes, the source mentions the crinkled lines of wisdom. It immediately dispels any anxiety about the journey. She's not guiding souls to the underworld.
She's facilitating maintenance.
That's the perfect way to put it. She embodies the system's commitment to quiet competence.
Mara immediately addresses that personalization factor we talked about. She explains that names float to the surface when they're tired enough, but then she institutes the system's most effective protocol, the core rule that acts as a defense against micromanagement.
Yes. The necessity of not remembering the first time.
To prevent people from trying to book it and organize it.
This is genuinely a genius piece of systems design. If the journey was a conscious, repeatable memory, the modern mind would immediately try to optimize it. We would.
Oh, absolutely. I'd have it in my calendar.
You'd set reminders, you try to calculate the necessary exhaustion threshold for your next trip, and you would turn the spontaneous act of rest into another item on your to-do list.
which would completely nullify the entire effect.
Completely. By erasing the specific memory, the system guarantees the purity of the experience. It ensures that rest remains a natural response to need, not a scheduled commitment. You have to earn the journey anew through necessity every single time.
She then delivers this critical statement of psychological permission. She says, "You're here because there's nowhere else you can be right now that needs you more."
That statement is the official cancellation of all external obligations.
It's so powerful.
It's a formal override of that deeply ingrained cultural guilt we all have about non-productivity. For so many people, the hardest part of resting is that internal critics screaming about neglected responsibilities.
Emails you haven't answered, calls you need to make.
All of it. This statement provides an external, authorized license to surrender. It reframes resting away from being an avoidance of duty to being a primary, necessary duty in itself. You, the listener, are being told that your current need for maintenance outweighs every pending deadline or expectation. And that psychological validation is the true prerequisite for restorative sleep.
So moving on to the vessel itself, the environmental design is just optimized for passive existence. The deck is wider than expected, which immediately reduces any sense of claustrophobia.
Every element is designed to counteract the stress response. Hard edges, cramped spaces, they trigger vigilance in the brain. Here you have soft benches, cushions in sea glass green and twilight purple.
Colors known to be calming.
Right, and low tables with teapots, a woven rug patterned with waves and stars. That rug pattern serves as a subtle grounding mnemonic. It connects the passenger to these vast, slow, natural processes, the tides, the star cycle, rather than the fast, demanding cycles of the clock.
The other travelers on board reinforce this idea of universality. There's a man in a Hayavu's jacket, a young woman with ink on her fingers, an elderly couple. It's clear the service transcends demographic or economic status.
And that is a critical sociological observation. The Night River Ferry serves as proof that exhaustion is not selective. It's a systemic byproduct of modern life that affects manual laborers, creative workers, and even those in retirement who are still carrying life's burdens.
And their presence is a comfort.
It creates a shared atmosphere of safety. Their diversity normalizes the need for surrender. It ensures that no single passenger feels singled out or, weak for being aboard.
The departure is gentle but assured. Mara pushes the boat free, and the knot slips as though it had been waiting for the chance. A soft chime of a bell.
It's a smooth, low-friction operation. The knot slipping free suggests the journey was fated, expected. There's no resistance.
And the city doesn't just vanish, which I think would be alarming. It stepped back, its light softening into a generous glow.
Another beautiful piece of phrasing. The city stepping back, rather than disappearing, manages the potential fear of abandonment. The demands recede, but the safety of known landmarks remains. They're just rendered harmless. The lights transform from aggressive signals into a passive, beautiful ambiance.
And then there's the destination question. It's handled with that same philosophy of surrender. Mara's answer is so simple. Same place as everyone else who gets aboard. In the end, for now, we follow the river. It knows the way.
And that articulates the operational philosophy of the entire journey. For the listener, for Alex, who is probably prone to micromanagement and planning, this is the essential lesson. Recovery requires trust in the flow, not control of the route.
If you had a map, you'd be looking at it.
Constantly. If Alex had a map and a faked ETA, his mind would immediately start calculating, optimizing, worrying about delays. By defining the route as simply following the river, Mara compels a complete cognitive surrender to the natural process of restoration. The only destination that matters is rest, and the river, as an ancient system, is the most reliable guide.
Okay, so Alex has surrendered his schedule, he's surrendered his destination. Now the ferry begins its active work. And that starts very appropriately with the senses. We're fully on board now, moving into the core services designed to actively ease the passenger's weight.
And it begins with the T.
The T. It's the first sensory intervention, a deliberate logistical step to down-regulate the nervous system using taste, temperature, and smell. Alex pours a pale, creamy gold liquid, flecked with tiny, sleep-soft petals.
It's immediately comforting, just the description of it, and the flavor profile is highly specific. The source says chamomile, honey, and a faint hint of mint. It tastes like a summer breeze remembered in winter.
Let's break down the mechanics of those ingredients. This isn't random.
Oh, not at all. In terms of, let's call it psychopharmacology, the mixture is perfectly designed. Chamomile is a classic anxiolytic. It works to calm the nervous system.
You know that.
Honey provides simple carbohydrates. That triggers a minor insulin release, which helps the brain uptake tryptophan, which is a precursor to serotonin and melatonin. It subtly promotes sleep.
But the mint is interesting. That seems counterintuitive.
It is, but it's crucial. The faint hint of mint prevents the overwhelming sluggishness that you can get from some sedatives. It provides just enough clarity to allow the passenger to engage with the next steps of the journey without feeling, completely knocked out or incapacitated.
So you're relaxed but still present.
Exactly. And the taste itself, a summer breeze remembered in winter, that is a distilled memory of warmth and ease. It's psychological preparation for the work that's about to happen.
And as that initial comfort takes hold, the external world continues its subtle transformation. The boat is moving faster than you'd expect, but without any sense of speed. The buildings soften, they blur into curves.
This is where the system utilizes what you could call perceptual elasticity. When your mind is fatigued, its computational load is reduced. The sharp, demanding edges of the city, the rigid right-angle geometry of buildings, those are stressful data points for a tired brain to process.
I've never thought of it that way, but that makes perfect sense.
As your cognitive system relaxes under the influence of the tea and the ferry's atmosphere, your brain requires less definition. The blurring of geometry signals safety and relaxation to the nervous system, and the speed confirms the ferry is efficient. But the lack of sensation of speed shows that this efficiency is achieved through smoothness and flow, not anxiety-inducing velocity.
Maura explains this. She says the ferry is sailing the quieter bit of the same river. It's the way the world looks when people are too tired to notice it.
So the river remains the same. It's the passenger's tired perception that has been modified and, in a way, upgraded for rest.
And then we reach the core logistical service. This is the most critical protocol for cognitive load reduction that we see in the source.
The thought box.
The thought box. Mara introduces this small, smooth wooden box with a sliding lid, and it's carved very simply with just 3 words. Not right now.
This box is a masterpiece of cognitive engineering. It's a tangible external mechanism for psychological deferral. And that inscription is perfect.
It's not never.
No, because the anxious mind would reject that as unrealistic. It promises temporary sanctioned postponement. We know the human mind performs poorly under conditions of high cognitive load, where current tasks are constantly competing with future worries and past ruminations. This box acts as an immediate, secure, external hard drive for all those stressors.
And the payment method is so insightful. Mara clarifies it's complimentary, and it's paid for by all those hours you stayed awake.
This completely reframes the transaction. It's not a financial transaction, it's a debt repayment. You, the passenger, have already paid for this service through your own chronic stress and lost sleep.
It externalizes the cost of exhaustion.
Yes, and it validates the individual suffering. It's a fundamental reframing. You are not indulging yourself. You are simply cashing in on a system you've been involuntarily contributing to for months, maybe years. This validation reinforces the permission to rest, which makes the next step, the surrender, so much easier.
The function of the box is incredibly broad. It accepts anything you don't want to keep hold of while we're on the water. And this includes high-utility anxieties like a work deadline, but also these low-utility stressors like the misspoken word from 3 months ago.
We all have those.
Or the future constantly being rehearsed.
And that distinction between high and low utility anxiety is vital. The misspoken word from 3 months ago is a psychological phantom. It drains your energy with zero chance of resolution. The future constantly being rehearsed is a common vigilance behavior that just burns through your mental resources for no reason.
And Mara reassures Alex that the worries aren't destroyed. They're held like a coat check.
Which is brilliant. It reassures the mind that if a worry is genuinely actionable or necessary, it will be returned to you. The critical operational risk factor is defined right here. No one ever drowns in this river, but people do get weighed down. The thought box is the crucial mechanism for ballast release. It stops you from sinking under that weight.
Alex's deposit process shows this immediately. He starts hesitantly. He puts in a deadline, a number, a deep fear of not being enough.
The big stuff.
And he feels a coolness brush his fingertips, and the box felt slightly heavier when closed, pleasantly grounding.
That sensation is the physical confirmation loop. It's necessary for psychological buy-in. The coolness represents the release of that frantic, nervous energy that was focused on that worry. The added weight, even if it's minute, provides tangible proof that the abstract burden has been converted into a concrete external object. The system confirms the transaction through physical feedback. It validates that the deferral worked.
And once he starts, he scales the release so quickly. He gives up guilt about friends, about his parents, an unfinished project. He describes the sensation as lifting a thin, sharp wire out of his chest and laying it in the box.
That analogy, the thin, sharp wire, is a profoundly descriptive image of chronic, low-grade anxiety. It's not a blunt, immediate pain, it's a constant, subtle constriction. It's the very definition of a psychosomatic response.
Right. We internalize mental stress as physical tension.
Shoulders hiked up to your ears, jaw clenched, that small, tight knot in the chest or throat that so many people report. The immediate benefit, the source says his shoulders dropped. The space inside his ribcage no longer felt crowded. That demonstrates the direct, instantaneous physical relief you get from offloading cognitive clutter. It proves that a significant portion of our physical fatigue is purely the result of these internal, unchecked mental processes.
So, the ferry is clearly more than just a bespoke service for one passenger. As we move into the next section of the source material, we see it function as this crucial piece of systemic, citywide psychological maintenance. It has field service stops, even though the vessel itself never truly anchors.
That's the key distinction, isn't it? This is a roving support unit. It's addressing points of systemic psychological failure across the entire urban network. It's constantly performing subtle environmental regulation for the whole city.
The first stop is called the Places Between. The ferry doesn't actually stop, but the lanterns brighten significantly as they pass a dark park. Mara it seems she's collecting people who couldn't make it home before they fell asleep.
People at bus stops and late-night cafes, on train platforms.
Exactly. These places between are the logistical failure points where human energy just runs out outside the safety net of home.
And the ferry is compensating for the city's inability to guarantee safe, timely rest for every single individual. The lantern's brightening, that's the energy transfer mechanism for this field service. It's a targeted emission that penetrates the immediate environment.
And the observed effect is subtle but widespread. People under the trees who are hunched over their phones or just hunched against the cold, they slowly straighten up, their chins tip up, their eyes close. The park becomes, as the source says, full of resting figures.
And the mechanism is beautiful. Mara taps a lantern, and it releases a thin, shimmering ribbon of pale gold. She calls it a nudge, borrowing old light to make people feel safe.
A nudge is the perfect term for it. It's a non-coercive, low-intensity intervention.
It is. It's designed to subtly adjust the resting individual's state just enough to transition them from a state of anxious vigilance, that hunched posture, gripping the phone, to a state of passive, safe relaxation. It specifically targets neck cramps and bad dreams, focusing on the minor physical and psychological discomforts that prevent true, deep rest.
And by using old light, what do you think that means?
I think it's a primal association with hearth, fire, and safety. The intervention instills a subconscious trust, which allows their internal vigilance mechanisms to power down temporarily. It is incredibly efficient systemic stabilization.
The second stop is far more acute. It's the hospital pass. The river widens and a large building with whiter, calmer lights appears. Mara confirms they always pass this way.
And that underscores the ferry's critical role in maintaining essential, high-stress infrastructure. Hospitals are zones of chronic, high-stakes exhaustion. The fact that the ferry always passes this way indicates that the need for emotional and physical stability among caregivers and waiting families is constant and critical to public safety.
So the ferry's function here is to manage the energy of the people who are responsible for managing critical outcomes.
Precisely. And the intention is meticulously defined in the text. It's to smooth the hours for those working and waiting, but, and this is key, not to change outcomes.
That establishes a strict ethical and operational boundary.
Absolutely. The system is purely supportive. It maintains the resilience and the clarity of the human agents involved without interfering with the complex, often tragic, reality of medical outcomes. The service is aimed at stress mitigation, not destiny manipulation. It's a crucial distinction. It ensures the ferry remains a tool for psychological infrastructure, not a supernatural force.
The mechanism deployed here is highly targeted. Mara cups a lantern and its light turns almost blue at the edges. Then a mist swirls up from the river toward the windows. Why the shift to blue light, do you think?
Well, the shift from the soft, warm gold to a calmer, targeted blue suggests a more intense, focused dose of serenity. Blue light, when it's not from a screen, is psychologically linked to distance, clarity, and cool composure.
Which is exactly what you'd need in that environment.
It's an environment saturated with adrenaline and high-frequency stress. The blue light mist acts as a targeted counter frequency, and is delivered via the diffusing mist vector to reach every corner of the building. It's designed to penetrate the ambient emotional static and provide a momentary, high-value reprieve.
And the observed impact is so precise, easing a nurse's tight jaw, lowering a doctor's shoulders, loosening a parent's grip on a cot rail. The goal is to keep the hands steady.
To keep the hands steady and to allow for 10 minutes without dream clutter.
Dream clutter, that's a great term.
It is. In a high-stakes environment, 10 minutes without the debilitating distraction of that dream clutter, which is internalized anxiety, intrusive thoughts, emotional runoff, it's invaluable. It's a microdose of a restorative break that directly reduces vigilance fatigue. Sharper thinking, steadier hands, reduced error rates, those are the direct logistical outcomes of this brief psychological intervention. This is the ferry's most profound systemic contribution.
Mara then provides this deeper explanation, and she treats the river itself as a kind of system of disposal. She says it's very good at taking what you're done with.
All the noise and news and leftover conversations wash down to it.
And the passengers are floating on what you usually drown out. That's a powerful reversal.
It's the ecological framework of the whole operation. It compares the river to a complex psychological waste management system. Modern life inundates us with informational clutter, the noise and news, which requires constant cognitive effort to filter. The default human strategy is to fight that current, to drown out the noise, which is exhausting.
But the ferry reverses this.
It places you on the current. It utilizes the river's inherent disposal mechanism. All that chaotic informational refuse is transformed into the very medium, the smooth, gliding water that supports your rest. It shows that sometimes the material you're trying to resist is the very material you have to surrender to in order to find stability.
And then the most important question for any anxious mind. What happens to the worries in the thought box? What's their future?
Right, the co-check analogy only goes so far.
Mara assures Alex they won't be lost. Only if they are truly needed, they return smaller, less sharp. The ferry holds the bits you wear like extra layers because you think the weather might turn.
And that's the anxiety optimization protocol right there. The system guarantees the safe storage and return of necessary actionable concerns, but they're stripped of their frantic, paralyzing intensity. They come back smaller, less sharp. The ferry identifies and filters out the unnecessary layers, that constant preventative bracing against hypothetical future dangers that saps our energy without providing any actual defense.
So it teaches you that most of your anxiety is just a habit of over-preparation.
Not a necessity for survival. The system ensures only useful, filtered data returns.
As the boat progresses into the deepest part of the night, the environment changes again. It's maximizing the conditions for profound rest. The banks grow darker and trees arch overhead, turning the river into a long green tunnel.
This shift creates an intentional sense of profound sensory deprivation and enclosure. That long green tunnel provides a comprehensive physical barrier from the city. It signals to the body that it is safe to completely power down its vigilance systems.
You're being sheltered.
Exactly. The replacement of urban architecture with this natural environment connects the experience to a primal sense of safety, the feeling of being in a protective space, a den.
And the natural companions reinforce this. We see a fox, an owl, and a cat that is utterly asleep on a low-hanging branch.
And Mara confirms. Everyone has to rest sometime.
The presence of those animals at rest, it acts as a powerful psychological validation, doesn't it?
It normalizes the act of surrendering to sleep. It connects the passenger's experience to the universal, non-negotiable rhythm of the natural world. This reinforces the idea that resting is not a luxury or a moral failure, but a biological imperative. And the sleeping cat, an inherently vigilant creature, completely surrendered to sleep. That provides the ultimate visual cue for deep, unconditional trust.
A new sound joins the soft lapping of the water, the hum of collective breathing, the low, rhythmic sound of the other passengers breathing, weaving together into something steady and kind.
This is a form of communal subconscious synchronization. We know that when breathing patterns align, individual heart rates tend to drop and anxiety levels decrease. The collective hum transforms the cabin into a living, steady acoustic field.
It's a psychological anchor.
A powerful one. It turns the shared vulnerability of sleep into a shared source of strength. It guarantees a consistent, supportive rhythm for deep rest. No one is resting alone. Their individual needs are woven into the stability of the group.
Mara provides the final assurances. She gives Alex a gray blanket, the perfect shade, like a favorite jumper. But the critical psychological intervention comes with her statement. She says, The hardest part of resting is believing you're allowed to.
And that phrase is the operational thesis of this entire deep dive. It directly addresses the cultural programming of burnout, where our self-worth is so often intrinsically tied to constant, demonstrable productivity.
It's the core problem.
It is. Mara acts as a psychological licensor. She overrides the deeply ingrained guilt that prevents so many people from achieving true rest. And the familiar comfort object, the gray blanket, is a tangible anchor for this non-physical permission. It signifies a moment where biological necessity has finally been given priority over societal expectation.
Let's spend a moment on the sophisticated logistics of time management on the river. This is a key promise Mara makes. It's the ultimate guarantee of restorative efficiency.
Time bends for this part of the river. It stretches where it needs to, folds where it must. You'll have all you need and still arrive before the world has noticed you are gone.
This is the system's solution to the modern anxiety of urgency, to the fear of missing out.
Absolutely. The promise of time bending eliminates the fear of oversleeping, of missing an important alert, of suffering external consequences because you chose to rest. In logistical terms, the ferry guarantees that the restorative process will be infinitely efficient, tailored precisely to your biological need, but it will incur zero time debt in the waking world.
It removes the stress of having to choose between your body's needs and your schedule.
It allows the body to prioritize the deepest, most necessary phases of recovery without that frantic underlying panic of the impending alarm clock.
The end of the trip is defined by a deep pause. The gentle rocking of the boat syncs with breathing. The boat pauses, rocking in place, held in a patch of perfectly still water, as if the whole river had paused to take a deep, slow breath.
That pause is the final validation of the completed cycle. It's the moment when the system verifies that the rest is thorough and fully integrated. The deep, slow breath of the river mirrors the deep, slow breath of the fully rested passenger.
And the absence of dreams is noted, or rather the absence of anxious dreams. It's replaced by images of wide, empty beaches, of quiet rooms filled with sunlight.
Which confirms that the mind has achieved pure, uncomplicated peace. It's ready to re-engage with the world from a neutral, positive baseline.
The re-entry is an immediate, palpable shock of contrast. Alex wakes up on the hard, plastic bench of the commuter ferry. He hears a familiar recorded announcement, and his body feels light and heavy at the same time.
That jarring contrast between the velvety ferry and the hard plastic commuter environment, it validates the quality of the rest he just received.
Right.
And that sensation of being simultaneously light and heavy is the paradox of full restoration.
How so?
Lightness signifies the shedding of the chronic mental burden, the ease of movement. Heaviness signifies being fully grounded, present, and ready for physical re-engagement with the world. It's the feeling of having recovered lost mass, not just lost energy.
And he has a token of verification. A small wooden coin, dark and smooth. On one side, Night River Ferry. On the other, one trip well slept.
The coin is the hard data proof of the non-physical journey. Since the memory of the specific trip is erased to prevent micromanagement, the system provides a physical mnemonic. It's a tangible anchor that confirms the reality of the experience and serves as a guarantee against future anxiety.
It proves it was real.
It verifies that profound rest is possible, that the system exists, and that his world continued without collapse while he was gone. It's a literal deposit of confidence.
The structural validation is immediate, too. He notices his bag is oddly lighter and his phone is silent. The world continued without emergency.
The lighter bag confirms the effective shedding of that psychological weight. Even if the worries are returned, they are no longer burdensome baggage. And the silent phone is critical. It's proof that the time bending worked perfectly, but more profoundly, it proves the user's anxiety was disproportionate.
That the emergency was internal.
Yes. The system guarantees that resting does not equate to abandonment or disaster. The world did not suffer because of his rest. In fact, his rest is part of the system's stability.
And finally, we observe the specific physical after effects. The usual heaviness behind his eyes is gone. And crucially, the small, tight knot that had taken up residence at the base of his throat some months back had loosened its grip. His steps are unhurried, his breath is easy.
This is the final report on the outcome of the intervention. That knot at the base of the throat is a classic psychosomatic symptom of chronic stress. It's often linked to the constriction around the vagus nerve due to constant vigilance. The dissolution of this physical manifestation proves the system's success. It treated not just fatigue, but the underlying anxiety it prevents rest in the first place.
The unhurried steps and easy breath show a fundamental change in his operating tempo.
He's been recalibrated. He's ready to face the demanding schedule ahead, but from a different state of being.
And the farewell is just this final brief sighting of the velvety blue boat just beyond the commuter ferry, and Mara's single satisfied wave.
It's the systemic handoff, performed with perfect efficiency. The Night River Ferry successfully transferred its fully rested cargo back to the system of productivity and then vanishes immediately, maintaining its clandestine nature. Mara's satisfied ways confirms the system's success and its readiness for the next passenger. The essential infrastructure remains hidden, ensuring its purity of purpose is maintained, ready for the next exhausted name to float to the surface.
So, this has been a deep dive into the logistics and psychological maintenance protocols of the Night River Ferry. It's clear this is not some magical journey, but a complex, systematic response to the demands of modern exhaustion. If we synthesize everything we've looked at, what are the primary operational takeaways here?
Well, the primary function is that it's a necessary systemic response. This infrastructure is built on the understanding that conventional rest is often insufficient to counteract chronic cognitive load. The ferry uses key psychological mechanisms.
Like the intentional removal of scheduling anxiety by defining time based on need.
Right, and the use of sensory comforts, the tea, the light to immediately downregulate the nervous system, and of course, the thought box.
The thought box. It facilitates cognitive deferral. It's the external hard drive for anxiety. It is the core protocol for holding those high-energy, low-utility worries, the rumination, the rehearsal, which allows the user to achieve pure, uncomplicated rest.
And this prevents the individual from becoming, as the source says, weighed down by the city's psychological waste stream, which the river is actively absorbing.
Furthermore, the ferry demonstrates a comprehensive model of infrastructure support through its field services.
It does. The places between utilize that subtle energetic stabilization, the nudge for the general population, offering rest where the city itself fails to provide it. And the hospital pass offers targeted, high-value support through specialized light delivery, ensuring essential high-stress workers maintain resilience and minimize error during critical periods.
And it operates with that clear boundary, supporting the human process without interfering with the external outcome.
And perhaps the most compelling logistical lesson is that time management philosophy. Time bends to accommodate biological need. This is the crucial realization for efficiency, that true long-term productivity and stability comes from prioritizing restoration, not from forcing output on an empty, anxious tank.
The wooden token serves as that physical, verifiable memory anchor for a journey that has to remain spontaneous to work.
You know, we spend so much mental energy erecting shields against screens, against clocks, against the constant pressure of performance. This story offers a model where the true path to sustainable functionality requires turning back toward the quiet certainty of the river. It requires embracing the necessity of shedding those extra layers.
Yeah.
The constant unnecessary anxieties that feel like preparation, but are actually just constriction.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with, tailored specifically to your need for comprehensive recovery. If you, the listener, feel the soft sway of water and the warmth of a lantern glow while listening to this story, remember that the river is waiting. The service is complimentary, already paid for by all those hours you've stayed awake. What is the one worry, the single thing you've been wearing like an extra layer that you are ready to defer just for a moment to let your own hands steady? What single knot are you ready to surrender to the Night River?